Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the Mokete Moetela show. It's a beautiful Thursday evening, and thank you for tuning in to spend the evening with me. June, it's a youth month in South Africa, and we have a lot of history that we are celebrating, reflecting on, and really commemorating the people who we have seen fighting for the freedom of all the South Africans. And we are saying halala to the youth of June 16, 1976 and beyond. It was not just only for one day, but it's that era, and we are very grateful to them. And for us, the youth 2021, it is also a very difficult era because we are faced with a lot of challenges. There's unemployment, there's matters of mental health. We are still trying to find our feet. We are unable to provide for ourselves. And then we are hit by a pandemic, or we are still dealing with a pandemic that we all thought it would be over by now. So it's a very difficult period, but I really hope that you are continuing to take care of yourself, centering yourself, and making sure that at least we are able to thrive, if not survive. Today I'll be talking about my experience of grief and how I've dealt with it in the past. The reason why I chose this topic is because we lost a lot of family members from last year around the month of June going forward due to COVID-19. And it's a very difficult period for many families, and not only my family. So I found myself reflecting a lot into how I've been dealing with the loss of a loved one. And also I'm going to share the experience. My experience is not going to be the same as yours, not at all. But maybe you will learn something from my experience, and learning something, it would mean you doing better than I did, or it would mean you changing how you are viewing things or dealing with things, or even how do you help people who are going through grief. So the first one that actually hit me the most was in 2011. So I'm pregnant, 9 months full term. I give birth, to a son. And after that, I take the son home. There are complications there and there, but we are good. We are able to go through them. I mean, we've got access to private hospitalization or private health care, so we are good. We've got everything under control, as we think. And and when you are pregnant and going through the process of giving birth, and after, when there are complications, to say, no, man, there's jaundice, take the child back to the hospital for care, and then you are incubated and stuff like that. You are more powerful as ever, because you're like, God, you gave me this new life. What do I do? What's happening? And you're excited to have a baby, but you're like, challenges. And in that short period of time, you're required to be very strong, and your faith grows a lot. Every time there's a family member in the hospital, it's like our faith gets tested. we all pray, and we all go back to our source of life, the person or the thing we believe is our source of life, to say, give us strength. What do we do? Show us the way. So it was a very interesting journey, but that time it was very sad. It was very sad, but I was very hopeful because I had my family members supporting me, and I was not that lonely, because I had support, and then after a few weeks later, then my son passes on. And he passes on after we thought everything is fine, we are at home, we are okay, when you have everything, you have settled, you have found a way to deal with things, you even have formed a routine, with your child, to say, no, she sleeps. This one sleeps around 8, they wake up, and then this is their favorite meal, this is what they like, you have pictures, you're like, yeah, new mom vibes. I was a first time mom, I was a little bit young as well in 2011, I'm 34, so you'll do the maths, I don't hide my age. But yeah, so And I'm hoping you just pretended like you're shocked that I'm 34. You thought I'm 21. But anyway, that's fine. That's fine. So, so after you have developed a routine, when you have everything under control, you're like, God, thank you. Everything is working out. There's healing and everything. And then things just change. It's like, just like that, when you thought you've got everything under control. I remember I was in hospital, and it was hospital negligence more than anything, because the baby had flu, blocked nose. We're like, okay, maybe we can go to the doctor to give us nasal spray, and yeah, maybe then we should be specific, even for the family members who always wondered what happened, because they never asked, which is weird when you don't ask, because we feel like you guys are sideline, when you go through grief. So what happened is, so the baby only flu, and then I tell my sister that, you know what, only flu, blocked nose and everything, so we don't know, let's just go to the doctor to prescribe us the right medication for the baby. So we go to a private doctor. The doctor then tells us, you know what, this child needs, he's not getting enough oxygen, so let's take the child to the hospital, on the oxygen tank, so that, oxygen, then we'll monitor from there, or why as I get enough oxygen. So we're like, okay, private hospital is there. The nearest hospital is public. So let's just run. And I'm not here to compare. This session, it's not a session where I'm trying to review public and private hospitalization. And that is a different topic altogether. I'm just saying that the options that I had in front of me, and what I had access to, and how, when things are meant to happen, they will just happen. When God wants things to happen, when shit has to hit the fan, shit will hit the fan. Either you have planned your life, you've got everything in order, and everything is going according to the book. When some things have to happen, they will happen. So we're like, okay, the nearest one, it's this public hospital, let's just get the oxygen tank, Then we rushed there with my sister. They put the child on the oxygen tank. Actually, it took us, we arrived there around 9. And for us to get a bed, guys, like, it was towards the afternoon to actually the file and admit us and even check or what's happening, or even check the vitals. Like, it took a lot of hours up until the afternoon, where we finally find a bed. And I think it was 3 beds on that side, and then we get a bed, so they put the baby on the oxygen tank, so now I'm watching the baby, so that until we can get a doctor who can check the baby. So I'm being assisted by nurses and sisters this time. So, but now the challenge is, if there's a new baby who comes. I remember there was a baby who came because nale unconscious annual paraffin. We are sharing the bed. I have to lift my baby or give my baby towards the end of the bed, so that one bamucheke mola, because mine, I can't move to a different bed. The oxygen tank is connected to the wall that is next to this bed. So that was the kind of situation where we share the bed. When they are done with that child, there's another one. I remember there's one of the kids who actually died there as well. I think it was around 12:01 when we were waiting. So when another child comes, because there are complications, it was a home birth, I think, with this one. We also had to pick our babies up, and we share the bed. Once they move that child to ICU, then you can now relax and wait for the doctor to come, so that they decide or what happens with you. So, but my child at least more oxygen tanking outside. Then at some point, I remember it was around, this was around 4 or 5. I'm still holding the baby, waiting for help. So we're thinking, probably maybe when they shifted the doctor, what's another evening, maybe I'll get assistant or someone to really check the baby's their progress or not, And holding the baby so that I can breastfeed and all, and Aija in between all this. And then I remember I'm holding the baby because the baby is occupied now. They're busy using it. And I remember it started to rain around 10 to 6 there. And then when it was raining, I'm holding the baby and everything else. And the baby now, I see the baby's like, in my hands. And then it's vomiting that yellow thing that comes out. I'm like, help, help. What's happening? And then that's when some doctor pitched. And who's also a student at University of Pretoria, University of Pretoria. That's when Arana, the nurses took the baby. Hey, they have to clear the other baby so that the mine can get attention now. When an emergency case kind of thing, So, they have to move the other babies. They're like, no, they close the curtains. Mama, go to the other side. Like, okay, what's happening? At that time, I was with... I was not alone, and I'm grateful to Betha. She has been there for me. She was with me there because when my sister left, to say, no, it's a whole day thing. Let me go run errands. I'll check you guys later. And then she left me with Betha. And then, so when Betha saw that, what's happening in my sister's, and I was a strong one. When you are a mother, I couldn't just say, the baby. I was like, what's happening? Help, Betha. So the first reaction, Betha was the reaction. We're like, what's happening to the baby? Betha ran and screamed. Oh, guys, that was a very painful thing to watch. I wonder if she's not traumatized by that experience, because, she screamed because what was happening in my hands. Describe, I'm just being, light and polite, but you can imagine her and I scream about what the hell, what's happening. And I really hope I am for trauma, Kavan. And if it did, I really hope that she'll get help or at least talk about it so that it can get out of the system. But anyway, so they take the baby, Bamucheka, and then I'm praying, in between the bed, God, like, Bona, you have came through for me. Even today, you're still going to show up. When the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, you've got me. You've been with me in this journey. And even today, you're going to heal my child. When you are a healer, and then you start quoting verses. I'm praying there. And then they open the curtain, and then they call the other sister. And I'm like, and hey guys, the other sister, I think now on the other side, there was another bed. On the other bed at the corner, the people like who lost their lives, in that process or in that day. Because I remember when Herotlo shifted, when I found other corpses, I'm like, by meeting Misha Herotlo did this is, same word, but that corner. Hey guys, so anyway, so they call the other nurse, and I'm like, what's happening? I'm like, God, it's a solution. They just want her to help to hold something, and then they do something. And I'm like, God, thank you. Now I see. My faith is to say, when I get a mama with a baby, and we are not even gonna sleep here. Health solution. They'll give us the cough mixture, and nasal sprays and stuff like that. So I feel like they closed. Hey, didn't even take long. After 1 or 2, they called me. Like, hey, I was your son is gone. I'm like, what? Excuse me, what? I don't know. Or she. I'm like, Kafriza. Like I couldn't even think or calculate what are they saying. I said, what is she? Like, I'm like, are you guys sure? I'm like. And then, because when he was in my hands, there's a yellow liquid came out, and I'm like, it's still there. And I'm like, I wiped him with the blanket, and I'm like, are you sure? Like this is a tiny body there. I mean, how can a baby die? The baby just received life. How can they just exhaust their days of living in such a short space of time? They're not even one. And I'm like, huh? Okay, and then I was numb. I froze. I was very numb. And then I don't remember. I think I called my sister and my brother-in-law. Like I called even the father, and I was like, "Hey, come to the." But I could not tell them. That's the thing. I don't know. I did not tell them because I was still in denial myself, or what. But I did not. I just said, please come to the hospital. There's something that we need to discuss. So they thought maybe I must sleep over or whatever, And then my sister and my brother-in-law, I'm a very supportive couple, Then they came. Betha was, what happened to Betha? How Betha came? I don't remember where did Betha go, because the last time I saw her, she ran away. So I know this was, if I don't remember if she was helping me call, even the nurses were helping me call. So when my sister came and my brother-in-law, when they came, it's like, hey, let me wait for the father. And I was like, this strong one who wants to handle and help and announce this news in a proper manner, sit them down and say, my son is gone. Do you understand? I don't know why was I on that mode of being numb and not feeling anything and just wanting to do things and go home, And I even thought that I will take the baby home and then, watch the baby sleep there, and then we get a coffee. That's how numb I was and not even thinking straight properly, probably. So my sister comes and I tell them, and I come, and my sister was very emotional. My brother-in-law could not believe the father was working out of town. He rushed when he heard that we're in hospital, and when he got there, tell him the news. I'm still numb, guys. I don't want to lie. So the baby now, eventually, after the family members come and see the baby, now they move the baby to the other side of the room where the other babies. Remember, another one died earlier. It's there, and I think there was also one adult somewhere in the corner. Like, that scene is not okay if that hospital still runs like that. But anyway, we got there, we saw the baby. The baby is even turning blue now. It's even cold now, and I was like, it's just a corpse. Like, I was holding a child who's dead, who belongs to me, who I gave birth to. And like, there's no life, I just remember I gave birth to this. I gave this child life through the power of the Holy Spirit that God gives to women. And then, talking when she's saying of our life, his days were just, not so many. The dreams of seeing your child running around, growing with your child, having fun and laughing, and so I'm like, this was my child, but I was still numb. But everybody else around me is emotional. And I'm like, and that looks like a person who's acting strong. I can't even confirm if I was, because for me, acting strong is I feel the pain, but I'm going to be strong. That time, I was not feeling anything. I was not even feeling pain or, I was like, freezer, because it was a shock. It was a shock, like proper shock spiritually, because you believe, you pray that God will answer your prayers. It's a shock physically because, hey man, we've been through this, we can get through this together, It's a shock even intellectually, because you believe that you'll get support in the hospital, you'll get support from the nurses and the doctors. So eventually, when we wanted to find out, hey, what happened actually, what happened, what's going on, I don't even remember who was asking these questions, but I remember one of the nurses who came later said, what happened? No, the child was on the oxygen tank, and we were just waiting for help. And then she tried to follow, she looked at that thing and then tried to follow the connection to the gas or tank, whatever they call it. And she was like, this thing is not connected on the wall. Oh, yes. What? Wait, what? Like my family just, like, they lost it. And I was like, still, I don't know what to do. Like, it was not connected. So all this time, I spent the whole day here. You understand, like, around past 9 in the morning. My child passes around 6 p.m. No, the oxygen tank. Like, what's happening? The people who do rounds during the day, like, what's happening? But I'm still numb because I don't know. Must I feel pain? I lost the baby, or must I be angry about what's happening, or the hospital, or my surrounding, or must I blame myself? What must I do? You just get numb. And then so we had to leave. It was a Friday. We had to leave the cops because but they were not working the weekend. You can only, like, the process of releasing the body and stuff like that in the hospital. They said we'll come back on Monday, but they had Mushare to come and take the baby. And funny enough, after they declared death, 20 minutes was even too much to have, but from Mushare on the door to say, we can help you with managing the body until burial, And that time you see them as opportunists who are always waiting for someone to die. And you're like, but this is my loved one. When did you get here? Who called you? Who are you? We don't even know you. You're already here. It's like, when a car crashes on the road and then the tow truck, they come running, gradually 5, just for Kolobin and a scratch. Because they're waiting for such an opportunity. They're waiting for that devastating thing to happen. It was the same thing with us in the hospital, because they just announced and there are already people here who are like, so what happens? We can manage the body, we can, But anyway, and I'm grateful that I had my family around to help maneuvering all those things, Now, later, obviously, not at that time, later when I was reflecting on what happened, I'm grateful to God for the experience of having given birth to a child. I gave birth to my child around 6. It was raining. It was in the evening. My child passed on around 6. It was raining in the evening. So I hold on to that experience to say, for me, this is something very special. Also, my mother had named my son. The second name was Mahlogonolo, Pulaja Mahlogonolo. And I was like, because it was raining. But even when he left, it was raining. And it was right in the evening. And I was like, for me, this is a special experience. I passed through the process of being angry at God. I had to go for counseling afterwards, after we buried the child. And I'm grateful to my parents because they also allowed me to deal with it and trusted me to deal with it the way ne ke bona ka gona. But also I'm grateful to the Holy Spirit, because sometimes we trust people to say you are dealing with something the right way, but they are not doing it the right way. So I had to go for counseling because I was not gonna manage to get out of that, because what I felt as well. So when we were preparing for the burial on Monday, I wanted to be very involved in the process. I felt like I was paying tribute to my child through that. I was part of the delegate that went to wash the body and so that was for me to honor the body ya ngwanaka. And so I've been to a musha and they opened that like, and I'm like, this is my child, with the yellow stuff in there. So we had to clean, and then I put on the favorite outfit that I liked, to say, then we have to pick a coffin. I was there picking a coffin of my own child, people. Very young, can you imagine, and then now this happens in Gauteng. I'm from Limpopo, Garametwana, and we had to transport the body. We go through the process of getting permits and all that, because you can't just transport a corpse, just from one place to another, especially distance your province. You need paperwork. My family was there with me, we did that. We got home, so Gaspedi, if it's a kingwana, we bury the child at home. We don't have to go to the cemetery, and Barahadwaga, they were very specific to say it. I think even the elders, actually, even my grandmothers are like, no, or something like that. I think I need someone to remind me, but I remember they were very specific on how we do it, and I was very grateful that the process went very well. When I get home, the people receiving me dealt with that, and then so the grieving process then had to start to say, what just happened? Wait, I had a child, guys. I was pregnant not so long ago. When you bump into people, they ask you, hey, it's only 5 months pregnant. Ne? Okay, I'm gonna for sure. And you're like, well, unfortunately, that was cut short. And because it's still fresh, you just get emotional. When you see babies, you just get emotional. When you see pregnant women, you're like, you just get emotional. When you see people, toddlers, little boys running around, you get emotional. It's not an easy journey. And I'm grateful that I allowed myself to go through it proper, because During the day, yes, I will sit with people, because what you need during the day is, you don't want people to be, you want people to, sometimes you feel like having a fresh conversation, someone to just, I will save you from thinking too much about what happened, to say, hey, let's just talk about the economy, or they come and tell you a joke, or what happened at work, or how people were fighting at the tax rank, and this is what happened, and you'll laugh. But in the evening, I allowed myself to weep. I cried a lot. My evenings, I knew that I went bed too early and I'll just cry, so that I get it out of my system. And I also went to a psychologist. And the importance of going to a psychologist is not that I was losing my mind. I went to a psychologist, or we went to a psychologist, because I'm not the only one who needed help with this. We went to a psychologist because we wanted to learn how to live without this. How do I live without my son? That's why I went to a psychologist. When a person dies, it's like they leave a hole in your heart that you don't know how to fill it. And time to time, a dark hole, a hole, it just goes deep, and you are scared to peep in the hole to see the depth. How deep does it go? That's how grief is when you lose someone. You are scared of touching or even thinking about that. How am I gonna maneuver around this hole in my life? Like, even when you are walking around, you feel very heavy. You feel very, very heavy, because you feel like there's this thing that I'm carrying and I don't know how to deal with it. So I wanted to learn, how do I live my life? How do I manage this hole? What do I do with this thing, this emptiness, the void, the numbness, and the crying? So also to say, I went there so that I can know how to honor the memory and celebrate more than curse and whatnot. Please, the phase of cursing and asking God why, it happened because I'm like, but God, I pray. We pray. What did I do to deserve this? But God does what He wants to do. So how do I then still see the goodness in anything, because you're even angry, this will never amount to anything. God does not love me. You can see feeling sorry for myself and pity, but no, you guys must understand I lost everything. Then, this victim person, so I needed to understand, how do I just live a normal life? It will never be normal, but how do I function? I went there for me to understand such things, So that's my experience of grief. There's a lot that I can tell you that happened around it. A lot. That's not all. That's not all. What happened after I left the hospital? Whoo, people. Yeah, no. It's a keep lie. What happened? Like the period of what happened. Because my life, I remember when there was a Facebook reminder. Facebook reminds of the things you posted a few years ago. The other day, last year, around November, it reminded me, because I said, how do I move from this evening I lost my son, that period of leaving the hospital, to the following day, literally a lot of things happened that just shattered me, that broke me. And I was like, wait, wasn't the losing of the son enough? Do I still have to deal with this? Why does it come to me? Guys. Hey, but like sometimes, we only see God has favorites, but sometimes we be like, let's go to have favorites, guys, because we all go through things, and because you never know the other side. There's things that are happening in my life, and you only know me now today with the lashes and the nice hair, darling, because it is nice. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what my foundation and what grounds me and what made me who I am. Those experiences, they shaped me, Not that crying and devastation, they shaped me. So as we go through grief, as we grieve, guys, let's go through it. Let's be honest with ourselves. Just go loose. Let's cry. It's part of life. Death is part of life. I've seen it. We're going to lose people. It's not a nice thing, but I hope we get help. That's why I'm a big fan of support groups as well, grief support groups. I am a big fan of that, and because you get to talk to people who went through the same thing. So That's what I do. That's what I feel like I want to live for, to help people, because life is difficult and sometimes it looks like it's unfair, but God loves us all. I have shared my experience with you, and these experiences, they shape us and make us strong. My father once told me, actually, it was last year around this time, we had lost a family member, and my father said, it's not the disease that kills, it's not a car that kills, it's not a gun that kills. He said, according to me, it's time that kills. It's time that decides our end here on earth, and that time is determined by God. And he continued to say that I have been sick for a long time. And if it was a disease that could kill, I would be dead by now. If it was the current health status or the status of our hospitals and stuff like that, if it was that kills, then a lot of people will be dead by now. And himself said, I would be dead by now, but I'm still here to show that it's not yet my time. So as we grieve and continue to go through this, maybe it might be comforting for you as well to know that when time comes, when God says, come home, my son or my daughter, it's time. Doesn't matter if we think the person would live for 14 days, for like mine, they just live for months. You know, when it's time, it's time. And I'm leaving you with those words to help you accept what you're going through. Good night.